Hendrix was just otherworldly. To me, his style was so indicative of his personality because him and the guitar were sort of one. He had just a way of knowing where these notes were, and he would drape his fingers over the strings in such a way that he knew exactly what he was hitting and what he shouldn't be hitting. But if you look at the way that he formed chords, they were sort of unique to him.
And then all of a sudden, Back in Black came out, and it was like the battle cry for rock and roll and heavy metal at that time. And it was a killer record from start to finish. Every song was good. The single Back in Black was as good a single as rock and roll single gets. I think one of my favorite songs on the record was Rock and Roll Ain't Got Noise Pollution, or Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. And then even to this day, one of my favorite guitar solos of all time is in Hell's Bells. So that particular record, it was pivotal for me. I just started playing guitar, and it was the first really great rock and roll band to come along in a little while.
Les Paul is probably Les Paul's like the grandfather of guitar for me.
He invented the electric guitar.
Yeah, I mean, he invented a lot of great stuff that we still use to this day. I don't think he even gets enough credit by generations as they come along that they don't. I mean, I have to admit, I didn't know who Les Paul was till my grandmother told me. And
he could play.
And he was just unbelievable. And so I played with him a bunch of times.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. And I remember the first time I played with Les was at his club, Fat Tuesdays in New York. And this was in the late 80s. And I went up there all cocksure and everything, just, sort of get up and jam. And he wiped the stage up with me. And so, I used to judge how well how much better I was getting as a guitar player by how good my jams with Les were getting. Well, I think an important record for me was Led Zeppelin 2, their second record, because when I was a kid growing up, my parents had that record. My parents had the best rock and roll record collection of anybody I ever met. But I remember loving that record when I was a kid, and then when I started playing guitar, that record still had a huge influence on me as a guitar player. So that was an important record for me. So those are all just still really important riffs for me, because it had a lot to do with what that influenced me as a guitar player.
So if you had to name your favorite riff of all time, which is obviously a nightmare question, but what would you choose?
You know what? A nightmare. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking a whole lot of Love, because it's just, I remember when that record came out, I was a little kid, and but Black Dog is another one. Zeppelin had probably the biggest cachet of killer riffs more than any other band.
Yeah.
And just one of the nicest guys. I mean, really sweet guy. I have one specific memory of hanging out with him at the opening of the Hard Rock in Orlando, and just a great night. He and myself and Zach Wilde and Nikki Sixx and Duff and a bunch of different guys, and all just hanging out and having a great time. And he was just really cool. But he was a phenomenal guitar player, too. And back then I didn't even know who he was. He was just cool. I didn't know much about Pantera, but later on, he's had this a great tone and a great original style, and wrote very unique kind of riffs and whatnot. So, he was one of the best new guitar players that came out over a long period of time.
Eddie changed guitar playing. I mean, I picked up the guitar in, I guess it was 1979, 1980. The first Van Halen record came out, and Steven Adler, which is Guns N' Roses' original drummer when we were kids, used to just hang out and ditch school and go to the pizza place and whatnot. And we used to listen to that first Van Halen record, and it was just insane. It was like, what the f-? Anyway, and he changed guitar playing, but he was such a amazing musician, amazing guitar player, amazing innovator, and just a hell of a guy. And we really lost a major contributor to rock and roll today.
Yeah, so this is called Rice Pudding, and it was one of those jam songs you make up in the studio. It's got Nicky Hopkins on piano. I think it's an instrumental, so Rod Stewart's not singing on it. So me and Jeff and Mickey Waller, I think, or Tony Newman on drums. And
That's the best way for songs to happen.
Or Ainsley Dunbar. We had great drummers.
Really spontaneous shit like that.
Yeah, let's play Rice Pudding.